Welcome to the In Pursuit of podcast, brought to you by CBHN, the Christian Business Harvest Network. These episodes highlight and celebrate those who are passionately pursuing their God-given purposes, leaning into our faith to rise and challenge the boundaries of possibilities. Let's go. Dr. Chris, I got to tell you, I'm a little giddy having you on because you have come with the information, the content that you're going to share is how I'm living right now. We're trying to. And I think that's where I wanted to introduce you, because there's a lot of us that really want to be better in our beloved. Above all, I pray that you would prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers. So there's a soul prospering, but you're going to help us to touch in and tap into that be in good health part. Welcome.
Oh my goodness, Roz, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me on your show. This is going to be so much fun. And yes, that is exactly right. Where we need to focus in my world is all about focusing on our temple and making sure that it's up to snuff for the Holy Spirit to hang out there, as opposed to being in some sort of sugar coma.
You said sugar coma. Okay, stop talking about my life and putting it on full blast. Okay, stop doing that.
Okay,
stop.
well, you know.
Stop it. Well, here's the thing. Like, would we invite a presence to a cobweb full, dingy, dark room? So I get what you're saying, right? And but let's rewind a few years ago, back in your life. So you graduate and you have your doctorate in I was about to say chiropractic, but that's not a word. But
yeah, chiropractic medicine.
Chiropractic medicine. Okay, it is a word. There you go. See, I'm not that behind. And you have this burgeoning practice. Life is happening at the same time, right? So you have this practice that is just blowing up. You're 15 plus staff now. The size of your organization, you're growing and growing. But life over here is happening. Can you describe those days for us, please?
Yeah, sure. Those days were probably not I was definitely not my best self in those days. Yeah, I was running a very big practice for what we had. It was a solo practice, an alternative medicine. We had 15 people on staff that included massage therapists, physical therapists. We had an esthetician at one point, a nutrition coach, a couple of other chiropractors. And so being in the perfectionistic, I can do everything all by myself, I don't need any help kind of mindset. I was running the practice and working in the practice and seeing my own set of patients. And
that right there is really hard, right? To work on your business, right? To work on your business and in it. Right.
Absolutely.
And for business owners, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, business owners who are listening in, we get it. But at some point, Dr. Chris, like you feel it though, like you don't want to stop. Why is it important to press those brakes on? Like silly, obvious question and answer, but it's hard to put those brakes on.
At that time, it would have been virtually impossible. My relationship with God at that particular moment, after being in business for about between 22 and 25 years, God and I were not in a good place. And so I had already told him to shove off and that I could just do it on my own. And boy, let me tell all these lovely, amazing Christian business owners, I'm back. Like God's got me. He chased me until I turned around and let him catch me, right? Because that's how it works. But at that point in time, when life was kind of exploding around me, I wasn't my best self. And if I have one thing that I could tell you business owners is turn around and find that person that fills in your weak spots, because doing it all just exploded my life.
And
Working 100
so,
hours a week is not how you get anywhere and have relationships with your, at that time, middle school age children and like any other relationships at all. So,
ladies and
yeah.
gentlemen, we're in conversation with Dr. Chris Sargent now. You're about to find out what she does now. But we don't arrive in the places and spaces that we think we belong in or God needs us in. It's almost like and I wouldn't say this as law or theology. It's almost like sometimes the path is paved with some dark days before you see some brighter moments that are more fulfilling. Now
It's true.
we're coming out of that season where, hey, I might need to put my practice down here because I'm just describe that moment where you flipped over and said, hey, what is it that I'm really supposed to be doing?
Yeah, I knew at the time. I mean, I was practicing functional medicine, and I was doing the what you think of what chiropractors do, kind of traditionally. I was
Sure.
doing both at the same time, and had been doing both. My real passion really was along the functional medicine lines, and I knew that, I'd known that, and had kind of started the shift. But um, a couple things happened. Life happens in practices
Yeah.
like that, and I just looked around at my staff one night and I said, "We're done here. We're done." And they looked at me and I looked at them. And they're like, "Oh, Dr. Sargent, Dr. Sargent, no, we can't be done." And I was like, "Oh, no, 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 no. We're done. We're done." And within a couple months, I had literally referred out all my patients that were in need of physical chiropractic care and let most of my staff go. Found out a whole bunch of things that none of us business owners ever really want to find out about salaries and payroll and taxes that weren't paid and all the things happening behind the scenes that you didn't want to look at or didn't have time or didn't take time to look at.
Right.
Buck stops here. I own it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe some of y'all have been there. And I was angry. I was angry.
So there's this scene in the book of Ezra where he's mourning before God and he's like, look, man, we knew we weren't supposed to intermarry with other practices.
Yes.
We weren't supposed to get involved with other things that God never called us to. And in the end, it's a horrible scene, and it's always bothered me, right? Like it's bothered me because they literally had to separate these families from one another because they were never intended in God's design to be a unit.
Mhm.
And I'm like, hey, that's not fair to them. But it's really interesting. All of us, if we're not careful, might be making decisions that hurt other people. I can't imagine what your heart was going through when you had these folks who are relying on you for paychecks. They have these folks who are relying on you for their career development and for their growth. I can't imagine what your heart was saying, no, I have to pursue the truth of what God is calling me into. And this might be the price that needs to be paid. I can't imagine what your heart was going through.
Yeah, and when I really look back, I mean, because that's the perfect vision, right? When you look back, you can see,
Yeah.
some of when I should have left and when I actually left were years apart,
Okay.
right? Yeah, when I really knew that I should be done, I hung in there because of exactly those feelings of, oh, I'm supposed to be taking care of these people and I'm the rainmaker. And if I leave and
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
the things, right? And so there's a lot of fear there. And I was still angry at God at that point. But I knew in the back of my mind, I always knew that He wanted me and called me to do something else and something bigger. I was called back in 2000 to do something bigger
And
and
so,
didn't
and
do
so,
it.
I want to press pause right there, ladies and gentlemen. We're in conversation with Dr. Chris Sargent. You're about to find out what she is doing now for the kingdom, for the worlds that she touches, and the difference that she's making. We'll be right back.
My name is Sadir.
Hey, it's Tracy Mighty.
Hi, my name is Albert Brandstetter. I am an investment advisor with National Bank Financial, and I've been an advisor for over 35 years.
And the CBHN community has allowed me to connect with like-minded professionals that have helped reshape my career goals with the added benefit of strengthening my faith journey.
And CBHN has helped me uncover and rediscover the passion for entrepreneurship.
And I have to tell you, what I have learned and gleaned from the others who are part of CBHN has brought me to new heights, not just in my career, but personal life as well.
Come to CBHN every Thursday at 7 p.m. and you will see the amazing promises of God that He has for your life come to pass.
I think you should take a look.
Ladies and gentlemen, Well Done, A Passionate Pursuit of Purpose is now available. This book was written so you don't have to leave your eternity to chance. It's for someone who is a little restless and simply looking for their next move, but doesn't know where to begin. If you feel like there is still more in your court to explore, and you want to experience the fullness of what was deposited within your DNA, then Well Done, A Passionate Pursuit of Purpose could be the very tool you need to send you in the direction of your destiny. Available now on Amazon and welldonebook.info. That's welldonebook.info.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Of course, we're in conversation with Dr. Kirs Sargent. Not only does she I call her doctor because she practices and she's licensed, but it's not what she's doing right now actively. How do you go through all those years of education and then end up doing something else? Because she's after a greater phrase, well done, right? She wants to hear from her father when she shows up, I did what you asked me to do, Father, even if it means putting X, Y, Z down. Now, Dr. Sargent, we were talking about, what led you to that moment of like, hey, I got to put my practice down. But what did you pick up and why?
So what I picked up was functional medicine 100% of the time, and coaching and speaking.
Okay.
And the speaking part has taken a lot of shifts and turns and all the things, and a lot of denial, and I don't want to, and I'm not good enough, and all the things that happen until you finally just hit that wall where you're like, okay, I am out of excuses, and now it's time to share my message with the world that we have to take care of our temple. And
so taking care of your temple. There's so many layers there. There's a
lot of layers there.
Can you give us an example of what that looks like? What does that mean?
So for me, it started, I'll give you a little piece of my journey, because I feel like we end up helping the people that we used to be.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That. Digesting, just processing. Okay.
Let it hang in there, right? We came from knowing certain things, and now we've grown, but we can turn around and go, oh, I recognize you because I was you. And here's what I did to get to a different place. So that's what I'm saying. Like, we help people who we used to be. And who I used to be was led by a lot of shame and a lot of guilt, and didn't really want to tell my whole story because there's a lot of ugly pieces. And I was never good enough. I wasn't enough. That led most of my life. And that was the 100-hour work weeks. And that was the have to do more, be more, bigger, better, all the things. Until I finally, and it was actually during the pandemic, I met Jesus one day, and he just told me I was enough, exactly the way I am. And that shame and guilt really belongs at the foot of the cross. And I think that
you're using words like guilt and shame. What, like, right? Like, but I thought
what doctor does that?
Right. Right. And I thought you were more lifestyle. And you look, folks, I'm about to steal her phrase. And if you ever use this, it's hers, not mine. It's hers. I'm stealing it. So you can steal it too, but just footnote her. Okay. lifestyle or death style, right? Like, I thought what you do was about nutrition. It was about healthier lifestyles, taking care of your temple. So why the conversation about guilt and shame?
Because that is what drives so many people on Monday morning when they wake up and they jump on the scale, or they happen to catch a glimpse of their body that they don't love in the mirror. What drives them is guilt and shame, and society saying that women's bodies are supposed to look this way and that way, and social media and all of the social images that we get is all driven by us being ashamed or shameful and feeling guilty that we don't meet those standards.
Okay,
And
so can you
I,
describe a typical describe a typical engagement, right? Somebody reaches out, like, listen, folks, if you're listening and it's an area that you're struggling with, just your body image, shame, your weight, your appearance, and you
exactly.
need somebody to be able to understand the layers that go into it, not the scale. We're not saying what went into you to that went on the scale. We're saying the other elements that are in you. Then Dr. Chris is who you probably want to reach out to, right?
Right.
Because she can help peel back layers that a nutritionist alone can't. They're not equipped to, but she is. Can you describe a typical engagement? Like, somebody
Yeah.
comes and they say, "Hey," and what does that engagement look like, though, those early days in that
You know
process?
what? Honestly, a lot of it looks like engaging me as a nutritionist or a functional medicine practitioner, right? Somebody's going to do labs. We're going to find out what's the root cause of whatever's going on with your symptoms. But then, because God is God, we open up, and I learned that this is like the 50th diet that this person has been on, and she feels bad about it, and she's afraid to start another thing, and he's already tried that before and that didn't work before, and there's reasons why we self-sabotage, and that kind of languaging is how I ended up in all of these other conversations that seem like they don't fit with death style lifestyle. But until we understand that we're being driven by shame and guilt, and
Yeah.
that belongs at the cross, right? Until we understand that, we can't move into health lifestyles. We
Hold
can't.
on,
It's
folks. Folks. I want to like just lean into what she said. Can you repeat that for us? Because there's
sure.
literally what you're saying is, hey, unless we stop, we can't start. There's almost this thought of like, well, God will not give me more than what we can handle. Yeah, but He never told you to pick that up, and He's not calling you to pick up the next thing. He might be asking you to put down something. So
Mhm.
can you lean into that a little bit for us?
Absolutely. We have to make room for the new. And the only way that we can do that is to get rid of some of the old. And we have to shed that shame and guilt that we've
Okay.
been carrying around, the I'm not enough, I'm not good enough. God put you here, Psalm 139, like that rings in my head all the time, fearfully and wonderfully. Like I get choked up about that because we were made perfect in his image. And to put that shame and guilt away and turn and say, okay, I'm going to start choosing things for my temple. So here we go, lifestyle now. And it's life because it's God's love that we're doing this for. We're going to do this to honor his glory, to bring glory to him by choosing things that are healthier. That's what brings life.
Okay.
That's what allows our light to shine in the darkness. When we're in a sugar coma, we're not shining.
Again, she's putting me on full blast. Okay.
No
Folks,
shame, no guilt there, Shiraz,
uh,
not at all.
yeah, no, I know you're not saying to guilt or shame me, but there is a measure of conviction, folks. If you're like me, and maybe you are, maybe you're not, there are areas that we can be more sharper. And when we come back in a moment, Dr. Chris is going to share a couple of thoughts with us for little techniques, tactics of how we can
Absolutely.
better live in our lifestyle and avoid that death style. We'll be right back.
Hey Hey everyone! Want to renovate, buy, invest, or pay out debt? We can help by providing the best mortgage that will meet your financial goal. So call Les at 416-723-1313 and visit the website lesgomez.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, well done. A Passionate Pursuit of Purpose is now available. This book was written so you don't have to leave your eternity to chance. It's for someone who is a little restless and simply looking for their next move, but doesn't know where to begin. If you feel like there is still more in your core to explore, and you want to experience the fullness of what was deposited within your DNA, then well done. A Passionate Pursuit of Purpose could be the very tool you need to send you in the direction of your destiny. Available now on Amazon and welldonebook.info. That's welldonebook.info.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Of course, we're in conversation with Dr. Kirs Sargent. If you've heard what I've heard so far, man, there are changes coming in my life. Thank you, Dr. Kirs. I truly appreciate just the privilege. Now, I feel fortunate. I get to hang out with you more than other people do, but like I feel so privileged just to sit, learn, and listen.
Thanks.
And I'm sure those who are listening in right now are experiencing the same thing. What would you suggest then? All right, so there's layers of guilt, there's layers of shame, there's layers of fat. And when you start peeling back some fat, you might find guilt and shame in your past.
Mm-hmm.
What can we expect? Like, what do we do?
That's gonna come up. That always comes up, and that's also part of what makes me different from your standard nutritionist. Is we're gonna address that, because I can see, with 30 years of experience sitting in this chair, I pretty much can almost predict when those things are going to pop up in terms of time. Someplace between 6 and 8 weeks of being on a program with me and coaching with me, the self-sabotage begins. The new has worn off, and you wrote about that in your book too, right? The shiny wears off, right? And then we have to dig in and do the second day grind, right?
Yeah. It's like also,
that's the work.
Yeah,
that's the work.
It is,
the
isn't
work
it? Yeah.
of saying, I'm uncomfortable now at a new weight because I've kept pounds on to protect me, but now I have to call on God's protection, or I have to call on.
Okay,
right?
hold on, man. You like I thought we were about to wrap up, but there's no way we're wrapping up after you dropped that nugget right there. Okay, so this whole time we've been putting up walls to protect ourselves, and God is saying, "Give me that. I want to be your wall."
Yeah, I think He is.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. I think He wants to be our back end motivation too. Like our back, like the back of the kitchen, right? You know, in a restaurant, they have the back of the house and the front of the house, right? I think that God wants to be our back of the house guy. And when we meet our bowl of popcorn or key lime pie, or what's your favorite? Tell me your favorite treat.
Yeah. I think you nailed them both. Right? Popcorn. Yeah. Key lime pie.
When
100%.
those things start popping into our world, and we have made a commitment to take care of our temple, and God's in the back of the house, and you're going to be like, that can wait till Friday. It's Tuesday. I don't need to do that today. But Friday, God and I will have another conversation about it. And let me tell you something. If you've had a rough day on Tuesday and you want to dig into that key lime pie, but you say, you know what, I'm going to dig into that on Friday, it's going to feel a lot better by Friday, and you're going to forget. Wow. So there's one of my favorite. It's called delay of gratification. We're supposed to learn it in kindergarten. But that is one of my favorite tricks for getting rid of those things that really like to lure us in. On Friday, you can have Starbucks if you still feel like you need it as an emotional crutch, but it's how we can get rid of our emotional idols of food.
Ooh. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a phrase that, you know, if you haven't heard it, just listen very clearly. There is a reality. If you could have done it alone, you would have already.
Mm-hmm.
There are people like Dr. Kirs who are ready to engage in real challenges that we're facing,
Yeah.
that are that
Yes,
we've
sir.
created our own stumbling block. We've created our own handcuffs, and she can help that process. Look, it's good that we have pastors. Your church is awesome. Your family is great. You have a great, but when you deal with a specialist who knows exactly what triggers you're going to face, which to know, to time it 6 to 8 weeks, you're going to hit this wall, because she's journeyed with so many people. Reach out. Dr. Kirs, how can somebody get a hold of you?
Oh, well, social media is my friend. I'm all over Facebook. I'm on Instagram at Dr. Kirs Sargent. You can find me on LinkedIn, same name. I'm pretty easy to find. I do have a website. It's restoryu.com, restoreyou.com.
Restoreyou.com. All right. So this is what we're going to do. This topic is kind of endless, because it plagues most people that we know. When you get a certain vintage, I don't say age, when you get a certain vintage, right? Like it is a real challenge. And so if you're okay with this, love to have you back on in about 3 months. I'm going to tell you how my journey is going.
I would love to hear about that.
You're going to be able to say, hey, that's great. And you may also want to try this to help get me over the hump. But folks, I have a Dr. Kirs in Access. Do you? That's why I felt it's so critical and important to have her on, to share her with the world, to say, hey, folks, there's people who know what they're doing, and they want to know you and continue to push you in the direction of your destiny. Now, Dr. Kirs, like I tend to ask all my guests, what are you really in pursuit of?
Ooh, that's such a big question. I think that there's at least 2 answers that I'll give you right off the top of my head. How's that? The first thing is God's will, for sure, which is always this confusing array of, am I working towards it? Am I in the right place? Did I take the right path? Like, whatever that is for everybody. And then the second thing is a little bit more tangible, and that is, I really want to see the Christian church get healthy. Like 70% of Americans, and I'm sure that this is not too much different in Canada, but 70% of Americans are overweight and obese, and that's 70%, 70, not 17. It was 15% overweight and obese in 1995.
Oh, wait, whoa. Oh.
1995, we were 15% overweight and obese, and now we are 70. I have been in practice watching this crazy thing happen to our country, and it breaks my heart.
Wow.
It breaks my heart. Wow. Because 70 to 90% of our chronic diseases are lifestyle, death style driven. They're death style driven. And it's something that we all can take control of, which, for all my control freaks out there, take control.
We're going to have you back on for sure. Thank you for investing in our audience in a worthwhile way, and bless you in your practice as you continue to make a difference in every way possible, because literally, beloved, above all else, I pray that you would prosper and be in good health, even, ladies and gentlemen, as your souls prosper. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on the In Pursuit Of podcast. Definitely follow us on our socials and consider this your personal invitation to join our Thursday night CBHN Zoom calls at 7 p.m. EST as we challenge each other to pursue the fullness of what God has for our lives. And remember, Matthew 7:7 says, "Seek and you'll find." We pray you too will walk in the fullness of your purposes.